welcome back to the 2026 version of Southwest Regional TAFE Tomato Trial.
Tomato trials, awesome.
Yeah, here we go again. Thanks for having us back.
That's right, we're welcoming Jodie back to our gardens, our veggie gardens here at TAFE, to do the second version of our tomato grow trials for 2026.
This year we will be doing a few things different. Firstly, we'll be filtering all the water, whereas last year we did not. So there'll be one control bed down the end here that will just have filtered water. The second bed here will have a Vortex unit. This year we've upgraded the Vortex units to a bigger unit that has more energy in it. And then thirdly, which is the one that we're all really excited about, is we've got the third bed will have a Vortex device with Scalar energy running through it.
So we're pretty excited to see the results on that. Having the 3 beds filtered, last year's trial brought up some questions which, well, I certainly wasn't expecting, but the difference in growth or yield rates with the tomato beds that had the filter as opposed to not the filter. And so I think it just introduced too many variables. So this year having the 3 beds filtered keeps the water the same throughout, and now we're just changing the properties of the water to see, rather than the chemistry of the water as well.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep. And the other thing that's happening this year that's different to last year is we're not companion planting.
No, we're not.
So last year...
Which is a bit hard for me, but anyway, I've come to terms with it.
Companion planting means there's other stuff in with the tomatoes. And we decided that it would be best just to let the tomatoes raw by themselves. That's what. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, you know, yes, it's beneficial for insects and other bits and pieces to companion plant, but you don't know what nutrients they're drawing up. Is that right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And we tried to keep the companion planting the same, and it's probably perfect for a home gardener to have. I don't know if you can see behind us, but you know, lots of other things planted as well. But for the purposes of this trial, and to keep the variables to a minimum, then we've decided not to.
Yeah, so that's where we're at. It's these went in on what day did these plants?
Friday last week. It's now Tuesday. So the beds are the same 3 beds we used last year. They've been topped up with premium potting mix just to get the soil levels back up, and then I've put some compost on top of that, and it's a Neutral brand called Chock-a-Block, which is available at hardware stores, because there's a lot of microbial activity in that compost, and our compost that we make here just wasn't quite ready. The tomatoes were planted into that, and then I've topped it with some lucerne straw to keep the moisture levels in the soil. So the 3 beds are identical as far as product and soils and compost types. And there's 2 varieties of tomatoes in each bed. There's 4 tomato plants in each bed. 2 are ox hearts and 2 are, pardon my French, one Flum, I think is what it's called. It's a French brand. I really need to get a pronunciation correction on that. Only because the French ones are supposed to be grown and pickable within 7 to 8 weeks, and it would be good to see if that's the case. You know, so we've got some early onset.
Yeah. So water-wise, we're also going to button back the two beds with Vortex devices 25%, so they'll run 25% less water. What else is there to share that we've done differently this year? I think that's probably it.
Weather.
Oh, that's a great point.
So these have gone in a week later than the trials last year.
Just a month later.
Yes, actually, because last year we put them in on our October break, and now they've gone in 4 weeks later. You're right.
It's almost
4 weeks. Yeah. However, the weather is cooler now.
It's been cold
if you
this year.
refer back to last year's planting, it wasn't hot, but it certainly wasn't cold.
No.
Whereas this year, it's, you know, as you can see.
Yeah, so this year's been, my 10 years in Western Australia, this has definitely been the coldest October and November we've had.
Yeah, unseasonably cool.
Yeah.
So whether that affects growth or not, I'm not we'll see. But I can say that since I put them in on Friday, they're all looking, so 4 days later, they're all looking happy and perky, and dare I say it, a little bit bigger. So I'm
Good
happy
job.
with that. Yes, kangaroos haven't eaten, which is good.
All right. G'day guys, just back at TAFE, and here we are in bed 1 Vortex with Scalar. Not too much to report. Bed 2, probably need to up the watering a little bit on both of them. Bed 3's getting, at this point in time, is getting 11 minutes a day. These guys are only getting 7 minutes a day. You can see the different varieties of tomatoes. Definitely yield, creating bigger plants. Soil moisture is a little bit low, probably at 12 to 15%. That probably needs to come up, so we probably need to improve the run times. But it's early stages yet. Weather's starting to warm up, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the coming weeks. So back at TAFE, and things have definitely hopped along in the last week, but we have had some rainfall, so that really will pump things along properly. The plants are definitely much bigger than they were last week. The 2 Vortex beds definitely look bigger in the amount of growth they've had. This is a second bed than the unvortex bed. The foliage looks to be a little bit tighter in these beds. You can see there's a lot of space between the plants here. Not so much there, but definitely on these plants. All in all, it's looking pretty good. So yeah, today's the 26th of November, so I'll pop back next week and give you another little update. We've got some flowers starting to pop through, which is good news. So we will talk to you soon. Okay, welcome back. 3rd of December, and things seem to be progressing well. Surprising, this first bed that we were just looking at is the bed with the Vortex device and the Scalar waves. It seems to be a little bit thicker, especially on this plant here. This one down here seems to be quite thick. However, that said, it's definitely not growing as hard as the Vortex only water, which I'm a little bit surprised, and maybe that's because the Vortex device is right there, whereas for this bed the device is in there, a little bit away from the bed. Not that should make that big a difference. I'm just surprised to see, but nature always gives us little surprises. And then the control bed is definitely smaller than the space between the plants. The leaf coverage is definitely less than these guys. So anyway, that's the update for the 3rd of December. We'll take some soil moisture and temperature readings and go from there. So we will catch up soon. Cheers, bye. Welcome back to the tomato trial at Southwest Regional TAFE 2025-26 edition, and this is the bed with Scalar in it. Thanks to Milo, who's driving the camera today, so I get a bit of a different view. But we've just run some bricks tests on the three beds, and the foliage is looking good here. The bricks on the stems is 3.25 on this bed, and then and that's the bed with the Scalar and the Vortex. Then on this bed it's just the Vortex device by itself, and then the bed down the end, which is looking very sad, is just town water, and the difference is significant. So the bricks 3.25 on the first one, on the second one the Vortex only 3, and on this one the bricks didn't even get to 1. So that's really interesting, and you can see that the plant's not as green. This particular one's actually got fruit already setting. See some of the little tomatoes in here. So everything seems to be going well. I don't think there's any fruit that's set on these. There's a little bit of disease that's starting to appear on these leaves, and being it organic, it'll just have to run its course. But interestingly enough, there is none on the Vortex water, because the Vortex water, by raising the bricks level, makes it less susceptible to disease. So, you know, pests are there to take down what's compromised in nature. Where the bricks are under 1 and the bricks are 3, no disease. So pretty interesting. It's you know, we'll wait and see what happens in yield land. But the tomatoes down this end of the bed, I just had to test the sprinkler system, because I did a soil test and the soil's super dry down this end, and sure enough the sprinkler head here has not been running. So that's probably why that's behind a little bit compared to the other ones up this end of the bed. Other than that, you know, it's going to be an interesting few weeks. It's starting to warm up here, and you know, the plants are going well, so we will catch you soon. Thanks. Alright, 5th of January, and the TAFE's been shut for 2.5 weeks. So we've got some pretty prolific growth, pretty much through all the beds. Pamela's tied everything up, staked everything up. The only issue that we've got is, well, maybe a little bit of nutrient deficient in the bed without the Vortex devices. But this bed we've had sprinkler issues, and so the plant on the end here is, all these two down this end have really been struggling. So anyway, just have to see what unfolds. Hopefully we've got that rectified and might go a couple of weeks again without problems. But you know, there's massive fruit, you know, through the beds. So yeah, everything's looking really good. Plenty of fruit. Hot this side, so you know, this is the main side the sun comes. So you know, maybe a little bit of sunburn there. And yeah, update. So that's the 5th of January 2026. Signing off. Happy New Year, everybody. Hi guys, and welcome back. 13th of January 2026, and the Scalar tomato vines are full of tomatoes. They are going bonkers. So the Scalar with the Vortex is going bonkers. We did harvest a few tomatoes today. As you can see, it's going absolutely wild here. And then onto the bed. So it'll be interesting to see what the yields are before I go to the next bed. This bed, we've had irrigation problems down this end. That's why the plant's not looking so healthy in bits and pieces, because the sprinklers haven't been working down there on the 2-week break. But where the sprinkler has been working, it's lots of tomatoes. You know, just tomatoes everywhere. So this bed's not going to yield so well because of the non-watering issue, but it will be interesting. And then down to the control bed, which is just filtered water. Plants are looking a little bit dry, definitely not as dense, nowhere near the amount of tomatoes, and they're not to the size or maturity of the other tomatoes. Yeah, there's just lots of little green ones. Oh, we've had a bit of wind action here in Bunbury, so they'll need to be restaked. We'll get onto that job. Oh, it's looking okay, not great. Not super hot weather here at the moment. Like 31 today. but the game continues. So Vortex Scalar down the end, Vortex water only there, and then just filtered water on these ones. Signing off on the 13th of January. Chat to you soon. Welcome back, folks. 19th of January 2026, and back at the Southwest Regional TAFE doing our tomato update. And the first bed we're looking at today is the Vortex device with Scalar. There seems to be that they're having power cuts here at the TAFE, so that turns the system off. So I don't know how long it's been off for, but the water's still being vortexed. Scalar's back on. There's plenty of tomatoes, as you can see, through the bed, and the plants are looking, like they do in this super hot heats, being tomato plants. They look like they're struggling a little bit, but the show goes on. There is a lot of tomatoes on this bed, and even more flowers coming out at the top. Little tomatoes coming on, so bumper crop in the making, I would hazard a guess. Then on to the second bed. This is the one with just the Vortex device. Again, a lot of tomatoes. There was a pick done earlier this morning before I got here, so there's no ripe tomatoes. Again, this is the bed that had the irrigation problem. Down this end of this emitter here wasn't working. So that plant really struggled for the 2 weeks over Christmas when everything really shot up. Again, there's flowers coming out. Now the irrigation's back and working, it's starting to create some magic like Mother Nature does. And it's looking pretty good. The tomatoes at this end of the bed seem to be doing well. And again, lots of tomatoes. And then back round to the last bed. Quite a few tomatoes in here. This is the bed that doesn't have anything on it. This is just straight filtered water, so the chlorine's been taken out. There's quite a few tomatoes in there. Plant's looking okay at this end of the bed. It's definitely not to the performance of the other two beds, and in fact this plant's really struggling. It's been hot, as you can see. It's the water's the magic, and there's definitely not the amount of growth through the plants that we've seen in the other beds. And again, we are growing two different varieties of tomatoes. There's an heirloom variety and then a smaller variety here. But that's the update for the 19th of January 2026. 28th of January 2026, back again for another look-see. First bed is the Vortex water, and with the Scalar. That's that device there. And being the end of the tomato season, it's plants are starting to die off. Everything looks reasonably good, all things considered. Got a hot spell coming up at the end of this week, but plenty more to come off here. So and the yields are looking pretty good too at this point in time. Now this bed that we've had the irrigation problem with, irrigation's running at the moment. This is bed 2 with the Vortex only. The end where we've got had no problems with irrigation's looking great. The yield wise it's good. However, at the other end where we were lacking water over that Christmas break, things are looking a little bit ordinary. And then on to bed 3, which is the control bed. not much to say here. Plant's starting to die off. Yields are significantly less than the other beds. In fact, Vortex only bed with half the plants basically is about the same yield, if not a little bit more, than the bed with just filtered water. So we'll wait and see how the yield comes along. But yeah, all's looking good. February 1st, 2026, the trial continues. So the first bed is the Scalar bed, and you know, plants are coming to the end of their life, but there's still lots of tomatoes to get. Now they're starting to struggle, which is normal for tomatoes. So as you can see, there's still plenty of fruit to come. Yeah, so looking good. I'll do the soil samples, soil testing in a little while. Onto the second bed with the Vortex only. Plenty of fruit still to come off this. Again, this is the bed with where we had the irrigation issues down this end. This little guy here's struggled. So this plant, these plants down this end of the thing are not looking happy at all, and the yield's obviously been impacted a lot. Then on to the third control bed. They're definitely coming to the end of their lives again. This is the bed that just has the filtered water, and yeah, they're starting to look scarce. But still, tomatoes coming. Anyway, that's the wrap for the 1st of Feb. G'day guys, welcome back, and 9th of February 2026, and this will be the last week that we do the trial. It's coming to a close. The plants are dying off, as you can see, and yeah, so we're right towards the end of it. We have the Vortex Scalar device is the first bed we're looking at, and yeah, there's still fruit coming. Obviously organic bed, so a little, obviously with the plants in such disrepair, the fruit's starting to get beaten about a bit. But we'll get a little bit more yield off this, and then the Vortex only bed, which is this guy here. This is the bed that we had the problems with the irrigation down this end. You can see that plant's dead altogether, and yeah, there's not really much happening there. Probably still a little bit of fruit to get. And then the control bed that's just got the filtered water. Again, plants are exiting stage left, and I don't think there'll be much more to get off that. I don't think those tomatoes that are on there will ripen. So that's the 9th of February as it stands. Welcome back guys, 13th of February 2026, and it's the grand finale. We're about to do the final pick, and yeah, we've come to a conclusion. So the first bed we're looking at is the Scalar enhanced Vortex water, and as you can see, there's still a few tomatoes to come off. But the vines are pretty much done. You know, they've done their dash. We'll find out what final yield we get and go from there. Then bed 2, obviously nothing down this end where the plants were starved of water over the Christmas break, and then there's still a few to get in here. And then the control bed with, well, so that bed had the Vortex device on it. Sorry about the bed 2, that is. And then the control bed, and the control bed is Well, it doesn't really look like much that's worth pulling off there. There's a few tomatoes that are green, but all in all, there's not really anything worth grabbing off there. We might get a little bit off there. There's a couple under there that look okay, but that is it. So we come to a conclusion, and we'll weigh it all up and do a little video and go from there. Welcome back to the 2025-2026 Southwest Regional TAFE Tomato Grow Trial. I'm here with beautiful Pamela.
Hi Jodie.
And we are winding up this year's trial, and the numbers have been pretty good.
They have been quite impressive, I have to say. There were a few limitations with this grow trial compared to last year's. The tomatoes were probably a good month later going in, which was a little bit late for tomatoes, and that's more evident now at the end of the growing season when, if you can see behind us, the tomato shrubs themselves are looking a bit shabby, but the yields have been awesome, and Jodie's going to talk about that.
Alright, so this year we did something a little bit different. Because the TAFE's on town water, we filtered all the water going to the beds. So in the first control bed was just filtered water. In the second bed, just right here, it was Vortex water only. In this bed we had an irrigation problem over summer, so each of the beds has got 3 emitters in it. The far emitter shut itself down for the Christmas shutdown.
Yes, so the tomato bushes themselves were a bit ordinary. They hung on, the ones planted at the end, but they were definitely heat and water stressed, which was evident in the amount of tomatoes that they actually grew, which was considerably less.
Yeah.
We did get the water working again once we realised, but I think it had just passed that stress point.
Yeah.
Anywho, aside,
onto the last bed, which is the standout champion, which is the Vortex bed with a Scalar rodent coil frequencies being put into the water at the same time, and the yields have been amazing. In the control bed we had 17.1 kilos. In the middle bed with the problems we still got to just over 21 kilos. And in the far bed we have got to 41 kilos. Which is
a significant difference. It's not just a couple of kilos either way that you'd put down to, just growth problems or anomalies. It's like over 200% higher yield with the Scalar device in the end bed than the other 2 beds.
It'd be fair to say that Laurie was a bit of a skeptic of the Scalar, because it's not something...
Well, it's hard to explain, and when you Google it, the explanation on the internet doesn't make a great deal of sense. But having said that, the results speak for themselves, Jodie, so that's awesome. I know us doubters, we've certainly had our minds changed for sure.
Well, look, it's good just to bring awareness to to these things, and we've got a grow trial about to happen at the University of Kentucky, starting in probably 3 or 4 weeks once their weather gets a little bit better. So that'll be exciting to see, and again we'll be using Scalar there. So stand by. I'd just like to say thanks to Pamela and all the team here at the TAFE that's made this little trial happen. And
you're welcome. Yeah, and it's awesome for us to show our students as well. And we were doubters, I have to say, but even on a home garden scale, the differences in yield is phenomenal. It's awesome.
So onward and upward, more vortexing, more structuring, more scale, helping nature do a thing. So
that's awesome. Thanks so much, Jodie. It's been great.
Thanks.